It's another beautiful day in the Bay Area. Welcome back to Shared Bites. It's episode 2. This is a show where two old buddies, Andy and Justin here, talk about, I guess I should say my name first, huh? I'm Justin and then that's Andy. But we talk about video games and not video games. And we talk about ways that we can introduce each other to more things that might be a little bit outside of our comfort zone. And hopefully we can help you find some things that are a little outside your comfort zone too. Andy, we made it to episode 2. Congratulations.
We did it. Who would have thought?
Big milestone, episode 2. Yeah, do we have a big celebration lined up?
Yeah, it's recording this episode. We're
That's enough of a celebration.
The grind set. The reward is doing the thing itself.
So yeah, we're excited to be back for a second episode. I don't know if anybody listened to episode 1, but if you did, thank you and welcome back. Very excited to have a growing audience here. We've got lots to talk about today. First, we're going to dive in and talk about just kind of what we've been doing over the past couple weeks. Later on, we're going to have a discussion about game preservation. We're going to talk a little bit about that, which is a topic very important to us, and some technology-based rumors that kind of tie into that stuff a little bit. Andy, you look like you had something to say.
No. I mean, I do have something to say.
You just seem very excited.
I love game preservation. Game preservation is good. Let's say that. But yeah, we can talk more about that later.
I noticed my camera's bouncing. I'm bouncing my foot while I'm doing this. I think it's making my camera bounce a little bit. I'll try to control that. Sorry. But yeah, let's start by talking about what we've been up to. Andy, how are you, man? What you been up to these past?
I'm good.
Couple weeks?
I've been playing some video games. I've been playing Undertale. Deltarune. I was like the anagrams mixed up.
Oh, okay,
it's one thing.
I thought you were like maybe going back to play the original in anticipation or something.
No. I'm full speed ahead. I'm one of those people who like rarely replay stuff. I like playing new things because there's so many new things out there that I just feel like my time is better suited for that. Not that it's, everyone can play their own way, but I'm forging ahead with Deltarune. I just finished chapter 3, so I'm halfway through the chapter 3 and 4 experience.
Nice.
That's good. Have you played this yet? The Deltarune?
Only chapter 1, and I think did I play chapter 2? I might have played 2. I definitely played 1.
You probably did. Because 1 and 2 came out together, so they were like...
Yeah, I probably played both.
It was a combo deal.
Yeah.
This is a combo deal too. But yeah, it's good times. I mean, I think the only thing I wish is that it had like a recap of the previous chapters because it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like...
I remember very little of what happened in the first chapter or the second chapter, I suppose. So I would probably just have to go back and replay them, honestly.
That or, I mean, I just looked up a quick YouTube catch-up just to quickly cliff notes it because I don't have the time to replay the entire thing. I mean, they're not long, though. They're like, 3 to 4 hours per like chapter, so it's not that long. But yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, I love just the Toby Fox of it all. It's really fun. The characters are really memorable. There's really good jokes. And yeah, it's kind of, playing it for a little bit has gotten me back in the groove. But Deltarune Undertale, I mean, it's kind of plays off of the nostalgia of, the old 16 8-bit RPGs, but with a twist. I think by now, a lot of people know there's like the pacifism mode where I think the goal is like not to actually kill any of the enemies in the fights, but there's ways you can recruit them or spare them without inflicting bodily harm. So that's been fun because the crux of the gameplay in those, for those scenarios, is kind of a little like bullet hell mini game,
right? Where
like each enemy has like a different way of attacking you, and your goal is like kind of basically avoid all these attacks within like a small box. And so it looks really like impressive on screen because it's like it's filled with all these like projectiles or fireballs or whatever what have you. But it's been good. I'm excited to get through it. My big thing nowadays is just really games that are, pretty digestible. Like let's say between 3 to 6 hours is my sweet spot. It's even better if I can play them in chunks.
Yeah, that's why I'm the same way. Undertale, when it came out, was critically acclaimed and took the world by storm. At least, the smaller, in the know video game community by storm. And I'd say it even branched a little outside of that. But I think a big part of that was because it was such an unknown quantity. It was a surprise. And that's always the challenge. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about Hades too later. And it's a similar situation where the first game came along and just like blew everybody away because it was something that nobody expected. Now they're coming in with the sequel, and I'm kind of leaning back more to talking about Deltarune now, but it still applies for Hades. But I'm talking about Deltarune.
Yeah.
It's interesting to try and I guess capture lightning in a bottle again. Does it feel like, as you're playing through Deltarune, does it feel like you're looking at it through the Undertale filter, through that lens, or does it stand on its own and do new things that kind of help keep it fresh and surprising, since it doesn't have that novelty of being fully original to lean on?
I think it's kind of the latter. I don't know, for Deltarune, it's more like a connecting narrative. So it's it's a little bit different. And I think Hades 2 is loosely connected, but I think Deltarune is literally a continuation of the previous.
Hades 2 is as well, actually. It's a direct sequel.
Okay. But I think, just as a experience, I'm expecting the same. So maybe it's not that. I think what I'm actually expecting differently from Deltarune than Undertale is that I'm curious to see how it connects. It does. You mentioned that it kind of loosely connected, but I feel like there's going to be something deeper at play here. There's lots of hints on like kind of really deep lore and kind of because so the difference between Deltarune and Undertale is that I think there's the characters are the same names and they look the same, but they're completely different characters in each of the different
and
stories.
A lot of them are like anagrammed, right? Like the title of the game.
Yeah. And like the Toriel and like Azure, like there's characters that were in the original Undertale game are completely different, like shifted and like Deltarune's more like it's set in like a more modern day like suburban town with like Azrael and Toriel are like your parents and you go to school and it's like it's very more like for lack of like human reality, but so it does hint at there's like other there's a more fantastical experience there. So.
I wonder how explicit they'll make that connection, if at all, like in chapter 5 and when that, because chapter 5 will be like the final one whenever that comes out, right?
I think there's 7. So I think
7?
There's
wow.
It looked like because if you go to the game now, there's actually you can see like grayed out chapters 5, 6, 7.
Oh,
I think
really?
there's 7. It might be 6.
Wow.
I forgot.
Anyway,
but
regardless, I wonder how explicit they will ever make that connection, or if it's always going to be kind of a fan theory headcanon type thing.
We'll see. I mean, I just given the way it's going, I feel like I would be a little disappointed if there wasn't any,
if
just
there was
because
no payoff,
of the time. Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, if there wasn't, I wouldn't be. I mean, depending on how the story ends, it wouldn't be like.
I trust Toby Fox.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you see the photo of Toby Fox like at like this dinner in Japan with like Yoko Taro and all these like famous Japanese directors, game directors?
Was it just a picture of the little white dog plastered like Photoshop?
Yeah. I think they covered his face and they covered Yoko Taro's face with the little in the middle. So I mean that's just. That's on brand for both those guys.
Of course. That's right. Wasn't there a story a while ago about how Yoko Taro lost his mask and he wore a different one to some event or something? He had to like go buy one really quick. I forget. Anyway, getting off topic.
I believe that, but I mean that's
anyway, Deltarune sounds great. I loved Undertale, and I do need to get back and play some.
Yeah, you got to get that
Deltarune.
What have you been playing recently?
I've been playing. I went back to Pokemon Legends Arceus because my son and I are very excited for Pokemon Legends ZA, which will be out by the time you're listening to this, most likely. But I never really went back and did all the post game stuff in Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I've been going back. I figured, I've got the quest where I have to go get all the plates. So I'll do that. I'll go catch Arceus because my son loves Arceus. It's one of his favorite Pokemon. So we'll do that, and then we'll be ready to move on to ZA. So I collect all the plates and I go do the thing. And then the lady who sent me on that quest she says, okay, now go get me 3 pieces of wood. It's like, I went and I gathered all these legendary plates and I just want me to go find 3 pieces of wood. And it doesn't help that wood is like super hard to find in this game. So I spent like an hour wandering around trying to find 3 pieces of wood. Huge waste of time. And then after I did that, she's like, okay, now go here and do this thing. So you go do the thing and it says, and it's like a disembodied voice comes up and it says, seek out all Pokemon, then play the flute. And it's like, oh, so now I need to complete the Pokedex first? Like, really? I did all that, and now you're telling me I need to complete the dang If I knew that I was going to have to complete the Pokedex, I would not have started this journey of wasting my time doing this whole dang quest. But now I'm, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm working on it. But,
man,
we'll see we'll see if we get there. I'm at like 195, and I think there's like 240 or something. So
234. It was the max you said, or the Pokedex?
Okay. It was around there somewhere. So right. I don't know. I mean, Legend ZA comes out like as we're recording this in like a day and a half. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe someday I'll go back and I'll catch that Arceus.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't. No one would. I wish games would tell you more about long term or meta goals like up front rather than have you go through busy
Or I
work
think
of
what
like
I'm learning with
redoing
Pokemon
stuff.
games is I just need to not that's not the kind of game you need to go into blind, I think, is what I'm learning. Is you need to go into a Pokemon game knowing like, okay, am I going to just mainline the story and then stop? Am I planning to like complete the Pokédex? And if so, do I need to like look up a guide and make sure I'm not going to miss something
Yeah,
stupid? Because I don't trust Game Freak to like respect my time at this point after that, quest line that I was just describing. It was kind of frustrating. So I still love Pokemon, and I will take each Pokemon game with its, the quirks that they come with. But I can still be frustrated about it. Anyway, I love Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's one of the best games in the series. It's a lot of fun. I'm also playing a lot of Hades too. I
yeah.
got
You mentioned
the
last time.
got the true ending, which was added in the 1.0 release not too long ago, and yeah, just
Nice. Yeah.
great game, wonderful conclusion to the main story. There's still more to do. There's stuff after the credits roll, after the main story
Of course.
concludes, and after you see the resolution to the main story threads and all that. Then it's like, okay, well, what about this other thing that we haven't quite figured out yet? It's like, well, let's go figure that out. And so
So
there's
what
more
what's
stuff to
regarding
do.
this true ending? Do you have? Is there like any secret things, or is there what's? How do you trigger this? Or
Without spoiling too much, keeping it super broad, it's basically you have to beat the game a bunch of times, both
okay, so enough
routes.
times.
You need to beat the game multiple times to collect certain items, progress certain story threads to a point where characters will say like, "Oh, what if we did this?" And then a quest pops up where it's like, "Do this." And so, you just keep playing the game and eventually the story will resolve, but you do have to beat both routes multiple times. I
Okay,
think
so
I think it might be like 5 times each or something
five
like that.
times.
I
It's
forget
pretty
what it is.
obvious, right? It's not like we were talking about Pokemon where it's like kind of obfuscated, kind of like the end game goals. But is this kind of like the proper breadcrumbing for if
I
you don't have to
think
look it up to do
I
this, you can.
I think that it's different with this because there's Pokemon is like an open world, like you can go do anything. You've got all these side quests, you've got a main quest, you can do this and that and the other. Hades, it's like you play the game and things happen. You don't choose like, well, I'm gonna go this way and I'm gonna try to do this quest. It's more like I'm playing the game and I finished this quest as a byproduct of, playing through this run and like, oh, I guess I got my 50th whatever that I needed to complete that thing. And you don't think about it as much in this game. It's more about just like let me play and then see what happens, and everything just kind of organically and naturally
Okay,
resolves without you
that's good.
having to think too hard about like, oh, I don't think I've ever once in Hades 2 said like, man, I really need one more moon dust so I can go do
Okay.
this thing. It's like it's all like, oh, I mean, if I get more moon dust, I can upgrade that thing, but I could also go do any of these six other things. And it's like if I just go do a run, three new story threads will probably progress as a result of
Mm,
doing it. So I think that's the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of respecting the player's time. Is
good. Good.
I've sunk probably like 80-ish hours into Hades 2 over the course of its early access and now its 1.0 release. And I feel like there was no wasted time. It was all killer, no filler, all substance. It's a dense game. It's huge and it's dense. The amount of I can't imagine like if they how there would be stories that come out when a really long movie would come out back in the day. They'd be like, "Wow, the script is however many hundreds or thousands of pages," and like there'd be PR stunts where they would like mail the whole script to somebody or whatever. I can't imagine the size of this script. If they printed out the script for this game, it would just be because there's so much dialogue for every character, and they address so many different permutations, so many different variables of like, oh, have you done a bunch of like underworld runs, but you haven't gone to Olympus a while? Haven't done the Olympus route in a while, and now you're talking to somebody on Olympus. Maybe they'll reference that and saying like, "Oh, I haven't talked to you in a while. It's been a minute." But then there are so many different people you run into, and they all will have like different things they say with regards to where the story is at and which things you've completed or not completed, or other weird little flags that they set in the game where if there's a great one where there's an achievement where So one of the abilities in the game lets you raise your last slain foe to fight for you, like a necromancer type thing. So there's an achievement where if you use that on, there's one boss that has multiple characters as part of the boss fight. If you use that there and raise one of those bosses to fight against, the rest of the boss, then you get a specific achievement for that, and like the characters will address that and be like, whoa, what are you doing? It's I don't know, they think of a lot, and I guess in retrospect that's kind of an obvious example, but there are so many little details that you wouldn't expect them to consider and think about and acknowledge directly in the game. And it's like, wow, yeah, I did get here pretty quick, thanks for noticing. It's um and then obviously there's the whole side of it where things change depending on your relationship with the character, how far because there's the whole like persona social links side of it too, where you give people gifts and develop your relationships with them and eventually, grow really close with certain characters. So there's that whole side of it too. And then they will say different things depending on how close you are with them. It's insane. The amount of content in the game. People were making a big deal when it first hit early access about like, it already feels bigger than Hades 1. And like now that it's out in 1.0, it really is. It's just, it feels like a Portal 1 to Portal 2 jump in terms of like, Portal 1 was a revelation. It was incredible. I loved it. I like built my identity around that game for a while after it came out. But then Portal 2 came out and it's like Portal 1 is basically just like a tech demo when you compare it to Portal 2. And maybe it's not quite as stark a difference with Hades 1 and Hades 2, but it's in that realm where you have Hades 1 and it's this amazing game and they made it. But Hades 2 is it takes that and just builds so much on top of it, makes it so much better, so much more engaging. I can't think of a single thing in Hades 1 that I like more than in Hades 2. It's just more, better. So
great.
It's hard to find faults with Hades 2. I can't recommend it enough. It's a fantastic game. Supergiant
sounds like I have to bump it up my
all the flowers they're getting and more.
My backlog then, because I do have the game and I had the game for a while. I just haven't played it.
And it's not the kind of game you need to sit down and dedicate a dedicated block of time to. You can dip in for a few runs and then go play something else for a while and then get back to it. Like I dipped in a couple times.
Would you say?
It depends on how far you get. It could last anywhere from like if I get through a full run at this point, being having played like 80-ish hours and being like relatively skilled at the game and having a lot of upgrades unlocked and stuff, I could probably get through a run in probably like 25-ish, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how lucky I am, how hard I'm trying to like get through it fast. But yeah, around 20-ish minutes, depending on
that's perfect. Yeah, then that fits right in with
but it's not it's not the kind of game where it's like, let me jump in and do one run and then stop. It's all the game is very good at not having stopping points. There's never a point where it's like, okay, that's a good point for me to put the controller down and walk away. It's always like, okay, I died, but now I'm right here back at the crossroads and everybody has something to say about what just happened. And there's my garden has grown and sprouted things. I've got a delivery here. The thing I was brewing at the cauldron is done. I can go talk to this person and give them a gift and see if they're going to, want to go to the hot springs with me. And then it's, once you do all that, it's like, oh, so now I've got all this stuff I just unlocked on my weapons. Let me go see what those feel like. And then it's like, well, let me just take it into a run real quick and see how it feels. And then it's like, well, now I got to keep playing. The game will, if you're not good at self-regulating and pulling yourself away from a game when you need to, the game will sink its claws into you and will consume your entire day.
I'm going for like I like to take a lot of breaks too. So like I don't like taking breaks if I can't pause it or if I literally can't like suspend it. Yeah. So I'm assuming in the middle of a run you can't stop in the middle, like in the middle of like room 5. You can. So you can suspend it.
Yep. Okay. And it'll even say when you pause the game, if you go down to highlight quit, it'll say progress saved less than a minute ago, or
Okay,
whatever.
great.
So
This
like,
sounds like
okay,
my
we're good.
game. Just get into this. Yeah,
So yeah, it's amazing. And if you have, I don't know if you have like a Steam Deck or any kind of
I do
handheld
have a Steam
PC,
Deck.
but
I have
Steam
it on PC as
Steam
well. Yeah.
Cloud saves and the Switch 2 version cross saves with the PC version, so you can take it with you. You can play it. I've been playing it pretty much exclusively from the couch on the TV on my PC because my PC is a lot more powerful than my Switch 2, but it looks great on Switch 2 as well, especially in handheld mode. But yeah, Hades 2, incredible, fantastic game. Highly, highly recommend it.
All right, yeah, that's gonna be bumped up my backlog. I've been meaning. There's so much stuff right now. It's we're getting into the holiday season, so a lot of like the most anticipated releases of the year are like they're just coming out fast and furious now. So, but yeah, I'll have to bump that one up because I definitely heard so many people talk about how good it is, just like
It's incredible.
incredible it
yeah,
is.
I mean, were you ever like a Supergiant fan? Did you ever get into any of their other games?
Yeah, of course. No, I've played all their games. I love them all. Even Pyre. I love Pyre. I know it's like a fantasy. I mean, I like
Love
into
Pyre.
NBA Jam. I think we might have talked about this
Yeah,
in years past.
probably
But
like
just,
back at PS, we probably talked about it a bunch.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think just honestly, just like this whole last year or so, I haven't been like super in the like super in depth in the games as we know from this the show premise. But I just but yeah, this seems like a game that's kind of like on if I only had 5 games to play this year, that's probably sounds like it's got to be one of them. So I think that's
it is.
exciting to delve back into that.
I think it's going to be a front runner in Game of the Year conversations for sure. And
Awesome.
again, it depends though on which outlets classify it as. Did they give it a nod when it released in early access? So now they can't give it a nod now that it's 1.0. It has that kind of weird nebulous vibe to it where like it's technically been out for a while now. It's just the final version is out now, so that'll be a consideration, I think. The aspect of it being kind of a known quantity, like people have been playing this game for a year, so it's it doesn't feel as fresh as like a Claire Obscure or a Blueprints or
I
a
think
Donkey Kong Bonanza or something like that is fresher in people's minds, but it still deserves a whole lot of love. Or Silk Song, like that's going to be in the conversation too. Lots of games to talk about. I hope that Hades 2 gets a fair shake and takes at least a few awards home because God, they deserve it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think on the Open Critic leaderboard right now, I think it's in that top tier, top 10. So it's definitely in that GOTY conversation.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, yeah, sounds like been a lot of Hades 2, which is fair. I want to talk about film festivals because that's what I did in my last 10 days on, or I spent some time at the Mill Valley Film Festival here in the Bay Area. So I pretty much went almost every day. And that's about an hour drive. So it's kind of a drive, but I actually liked it because I liked having, the time to listen to some podcasts or some music and just kind of like go for a little drive. I want to share, film festivals are cool. It's something, I don't know if have you done one or have you been to one?
No, I was just going to ask, what's the process like of going to a film? You like from the moment you drive your car there, you park, and like what does it look like when you go? Is it just like a big movie theater? What does this look like?
Yeah, I mean, so it's actually it depends on where you are. I mean, obviously there's the more glamorous film festivals like Cannes or like Sundance. Those are kind of like pretty you have to basically travel. You have to plan ahead and travel them.
Sure, yeah.
But I really want to encourage you and like maybe some other listeners to like find your local film festival because it's a great way to see some amazing films and also some talent. So one of the coolest things about film festivals is that oftentimes they'll get people who worked on the film, so whether it's the director or usually get the cast members, which is like really cool because that's like usually your only chance to see these like famous Hollywood actors like in person. Because that's something that's rare because they don't, it's not like you can go to a concert by, Oscar winners because they just don't do that. I mean, unless you go to Broadway and, they happen to do a musical or play.
Right.
But it's cool when you go to film festivals because usually they get films that are early releases. So you'll see films before they come out. So if you're that kind of person that likes seeing things early, maybe like being the first of your friends or your peer group to like kind of like have an experience, that's something that you should definitely check out because you can see movies that are months, maybe sometimes even a year in advance before they come out for the general public. So that's like kind of cool. Like it's it's akin to having early access to Hades too, whatever. But
Yeah,
it's
sure.
you can kind of get that you get some rare content. But also, yeah, usually they have the talent, the film talent there, and there's usually like an introduction or a Q&A with the people as well. So it's after so I saw some films last week. I saw Hamnet by Chloe Zhao. Who's a director. She directed Nomadland a few years ago. She won the Academy Award for Best Directing. And she directed Eternals after that, which is I think she got some flack.
I knew
But
I
I
recognized her name from something. That's what it was.
yeah. But that's kind of that's more of a Marvel thing than I think the Oscar-winning director.
Right. Yeah.
um, but but yeah, but she was there. So the opening of the film was Hamnet, which is the story of William Shakespeare and his wife, and kind of how it was the kind of like how the play Hamlet was inspired. So it's kind of like the story leads up to that, and it's more about being a parent. It's actually a movie about parenting. It's about loss. It's about kind of how different people deal with loss, even in their own relationship. So it's mostly about Shakespeare and his wife, Agnes Hathaway. Anne Hathaway, I think that's her name. It's written sometimes, but it's kind of it's in that perspective. And the lead actress is Jessie Buckley. She's an Irish actress. I don't know if you've seen any of her work before, but she's also Academy Award nominated. She gives an amazing performance in this. And she was there, so it was really cool to see see her in person. I guarantee you she'll get an Oscar nomination next year for Best Actress. I'm putting it down here, like you put money on it. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a good bet. And I think the movie's getting really good Oscar buzz as well. But it's just really cool to kind of like be there in person, right? Be there and kind of get insight into their process. After the movie, they usually have a Q&A discussion about 20, 30 minutes, and they have good moderators that ask questions, and sometimes they'll let the audience ask questions, depending on what the audience is like. But it's really cool. It's kind of like getting to discuss the film with friends. Obviously, because you're seeing an early access movie, like not everyone's gonna be able to see it. So it's really cool to kind of have like a semi discussion on that. So yeah, some of that's really cool. And throughout the week they had some great throughout the festivals, no matter where you are, usually they'll have a lot of different good programming. There's I saw the new Knives Out movie that isn't out yet.
Nice.
Knives Out,
Good.
Wake Up Dead Man. You're a fan? Have you seen those movies?
Yeah, I like the first two.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, yeah, this one's great too. I mean, I think this one's this one's about Catholicism and religion.
Interesting.
That's kind of the setting. But it definitely I think has more meaning with kind of like it definitely has more social commentary.
Did you say it's called Wake Up Dead Man?
It's called Wake Up Dead Man.
So wait, are the titles all just going to be Beatles songs or Beatles references? Because that's a Beatles thing, isn't it?
Reference?
Isn't that a Beatles thing? Wake Up Dead Man?
Wake Up Dead Man is actually a U2 song, I think.
Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a U2 song because
Glass Onion was a Beatles song, right?
I don't remember if that was. I don't know. I'm not a huge Beatles historian. Look it up. But I think it's interesting how he is naming them like different maybe song lyrics, but it's like Knives. It's not like Knives Out 3. It's like blah blah blah, a Knives Out mystery. So that's cool. I think that's just being able to see something like that, and especially because it's on Netflix, so it's going to be a rare treat to see it in theaters. So it's good to have seen that in on the big screen. Really good. They had a Metallica documentary. I think it's Metallica Save My Life. And they had Lars Ulrich there. To help premiere it or to help like that. So yeah, so I really encourage like you and anyone else, like if you're in the movies you can spare. I know it's hard with being a parent, you gotta get either take turns or get a sitter or whatnot, but it is cool to I think just have the experience of going to one of these, because usually when in the crowds really in the film as well, so usually I meet people online, you talk about, oh, what do you like in this what do you like in this festival? What have you seen so far? What are you excited to see? It's kind of like if you're going to a gaming convention, it's like, any new demos you've tried out or any kind of presentation that you liked. So it's kind of really similar to that experience, except you get to fit your own schedule. So to your first question about how this is happening about, you just, they have a ticket on sale, usually a couple months or whatever amount of time in advance. You can either buy a lot of these will have ticket packs. So you can buy 6 tickets at once. You get a little bundle discount, or you get more, or you can buy them a la carte. So it's a lot of these are really flexible. You can just buy it. It's like buying a ticket to the movie theater and at the mall. They just, buy single tickets, as well. And it's pretty easy. It's just like going to the movies, but you're just kind of it's like a special event. So it's kind of like you plan ahead, and For me, it's really fun because I kind of like blocked off the week to do this, so I was able to kind of schedule like 2 movies a day, which I think is usually
Oh,
really
okay.
fun
So like
because
2 movies a day. I was gonna ask, is it like an all you just go plant your butt in a seat and you don't move for 10 hours?
yeah, I mean, this was interesting because like sometimes I mean, if the scheduling works out, I love to do that. But if not, then it's like, oh, I had to hop theaters, right? So I had to get up and drive to from Mill Valley to like San Rafael or like Larkspur because it's or they even I did one day where I went to from San Rafael to Berkeley at dinner, but they're all like very doable like time blocks, and it's actually kind of a it almost was really satisfying when you like schedule something like exactly right. So you line up the movie and then you line up the driving time and you line up the getting enough time to get food, but then you get another thing.
Okay.
So it's
So it's like
kind of
it's
like a
at
personal.
different places.
Yeah, they can be in different
I
places.
see.
Depends on your festival. I mean, I think and those SF Film in San Francisco has one in April, and I think they're they're within the city itself, so it might be a little closer or traffic wise, whatever. Oftentimes, yeah, it's yeah. But the fun also, if you have more time, so if you want to get more into it, you can look at the schedule and see kind of like, oh, which 2 movies could you fit in one day, right? Or even could you fit in a
Yeah.
third one if you're like really motivated. It's kind
So
of like going
how
to a music festival.
so
We
how
talked about
many
it last week,
movies
but
did
like
you
just
watch over the course of the whole thing?
I saw 10 at the festival over the
Wow.
course of like like nine days.
And was
I didn't go
Hamnet
every day.
your big takeaway from it? Is that your pick, your recommendation coming out of it?
Um, no, Hamnet is amazing, and there are 2 movies I thought were the best were Hamnet and there's a movie called No Other Choice, which is by the great Korean auteur Park Chan Wook. He did Old Boy,
Oh,
if
okay.
you've seen Old Boy, which is
I haven't,
I
but I
mean
recognize its significance.
incredible. You should definitely watch it. It's a total 5-star movie. It's so good.
I'll
And he
just
did
watch the
he's
newer
done.
one with Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen, right?
But you did that? You saw that or
No,
no?
no, no.
Like.
I'll just say I'll just watch that one, right? Don't bother with the old one.
Yeah, yeah. Do
It's
not watch
newer,
that.
so it's better.
That is bad. Make sure you watch the original one. Um, he did The Handmaiden and Decision to Leave last year, but he's incredible director. He's like, it's even as like a just as a visual nerd, you'll appreciate like there's like so amazing match cuts. There's like great like transitions and like layered like scenes where he'll like overlay like someone's face with like so there's like a almost like semi-transparent iPad like so there's a scene in the movie where like someone has to pick out the gun that someone uses and there's like a transparent iPad that the policeman shows which is like next to the person's face and the gun is like pointing at her face but it's like on the iPad so it's like as she's swiping to oh this is the right gun it's like it's almost like giving the feeling oh it's she's like pointing the gun at her face
Yeah.
it's like there's some really amazing visual tricks that he does here that's amazing but the film is actually really funny. It's a dark comedy. It's kind of like it's basically Parasite but funny, like just all funny. And also more set in like the middle class. So basically, it's the story is about a guy who gets laid off from his job as a paper manager. He manages like a specialty paper company, and he gets laid off. And he's like trying to provide, provide for his family, and it kind of like, and but he comes to conclude he has trouble finding a job. So for like 6 months, he's like, he's kind of like bumming around, and he's like, oh, we gotta do something. We can't sell the house. So he basically decides that the only logical answer is to kill everyone else that does his job, so that when he goes to the job interview, he's the only one left.
Okay. I mean,
That's the logical progression.
one
It's kind of
solution.
absurd, but you go with it. So the movie is about him
Some
like
solid
bumbling
outside
around
the
trying
box
to kill these
thinking.
people. What's that?
Some solid outside the box thinking.
Yeah,
He's really showing initiative.
Yeah, I mean it's technically true. I mean, there's only 3 people that can do his job. Like, he's the only last one left. He will get hired. Like,
Goodness.
But yeah, the film is kind of him bumbling because he's like a normal guy. He's not like a stone cold killer. He's just like a middle manager. So it's funny, kind of like see him try to kill everybody, and he's to varying degrees of success. I'll say. But it's very good. It's funny, but it's also very funny because it's true because it's kind of where we are in the world right now. It's like just late stage capitalism of replacing middle management with AI and just like the fact that he's working for a paper company, right? Like just a physical good company. That's also very interesting. Yeah, so I think that was incredible. I think that's definitely something that you might like actually. It's kind of anyone can really like appreciate this movie. There's lots of laughs in my screening. Like it's not of a lot of laughs, a lot of like oohs and ahs. But it's great because it's funny, it's entertaining, it's got something to say about society,
Nice.
and it looks visually amazing.
Can you ask for more?
What's a can you ask for? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, those are my two picks. And Hamnet, I think Hamnet, so this is the story about Shakespeare, and his wife and losing their son and kind of how they get through it. And that one was on the opposite end. It was really emotional. I was crying by the end of it. The entire theater was sobbing by the end of it. The last scene is so powerful. Like when you can't, I challenge you to not feel feelings by the end of this movie because it'll be really hard.
Whew, sounds like a tough watch.
It's not tough. It's actually not like trauma. It's just like the emotion comes from just like realizing the acceptance of it. I think that's kind of like really. It's not like painful. It's just you get overwhelmed with emotion by the end of it. I think it's more like that. So it's an interesting kind of like feeling because it's not like, I mean it is sad, but it's not like, oh, like you're watching someone die in agony.
Right.
No, it's not like that.
Sure.
It's kind of like the whole process, which is really powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are like a good chance to go into the film festival is a good chance to see kind of like really award-winning films, or even like films that you could not see regularly. So there's some movies that I saw that don't have distribution yet. So like, it's something you can't go to the theaters. There's no release date. So it is a kind of like almost like a once in a lifetime thing. Hopefully a lot of these films will get releases, but like, this is a chance to see like, films around the world that you may not be able to see like regularly. So so this is kind of just, if you're into film, if you're into like kind of new experiences and seeing like kind of unique things, I highly encourage that, look up your local film festival.
How do you what does one do if one is curious now? Do you just Google like film festival plus whatever city you live in?
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to start, really. I mean, there's a lot of like smaller festivals around the country, around the world. I would start with honestly like local, like just that there's a good base, and you'll start kind of filtering out like what time of year, which ones there are. I mean, the Bay Area there's several. I mean, throughout the year, and so like say Mill Valley, there's one in SF Film. There's also very specialty ones. So like there's Frameline, which is like the LGBTQ plus film festival they have in early this is in the summer, that kind of close to Pride Month. There's an Asian American, film festival. There's like all these different kind of film festivals, and they have varying degrees of like, the star power, because obviously it's like, depending on what time of year it is and how much money they have, like it'll, depending on the talent. But usually, yeah, so you can definitely start there, I think. And I'll also just say like have an open mind too. Like go in, like, maybe look for an actor or director you may like, or even just read the synopses and see if that's something you'd be into. Because these are really geared towards discovery too. Like a lot of these films you probably will not have heard of. Knives Out notwithstanding, like some of them may not. But if you are in the creative team around it, then that's like a good entry point. And especially if it's you find your convenience, find whatever. But it's a really cool experience because you get to kind of do something new and kind of like see talent in person as well. So yeah, I recommend.
That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. I definitely want to go visit a film festival after that. So we do have one more thing we want to talk about. We're getting to a point where we won't be able to spend a ton of time on it, but I do want to make sure that we spend some time talking about game preservation and kind of some of the stories that led us to talking about that, because there were some interesting things that happened recently. The one that kind of sparked this whole topic, in my mind at least, was the story about this Ratchet and Clank mobile game from years and years ago.
I had no idea they had a mobile game.
That was, yeah, I mean, it's kind of back in the days when everybody was trying to make a mobile game for mobile phones. And this is, we're talking about like old school cell phones from, let's see what year it says, lost Ratchet and Clank game found after 20 years. So we're talking, early 2000 cell phones.
Oh, it's like a Nokia, like candy,
like Java games, the ones you would play, very simplistic stuff. But there was a Ratchet and Clank game that was in development for cell phones many years ago that was never released and was just lost to the annals of time. But a story broke a few days ago. Shouts out to retrohandhelds.gg for putting the story in front of me. Where some folks found, they tracked down, they have been on a quest to find this game, and they've just been looking for old phones, just buying old phones, like on eBay and stuff, hoping that one of them would have a build of this game installed on it. And wouldn't you know it, miraculously, one of them did. They found one. They found a phone that had a build of this never released Ratchet and Clank mobile game installed on it. So they dumped it and they, put it out there. So if you know where to look, you can find it. but it's crazy that the something that everyone just wrote off and assumed was just never going to be able to be experienced. Now here it is, 20 years later, we can experience this thing that probably doesn't hold up in terms of gameplay mechanics quite so much anymore, but it's about more than playing a fun thing. It's about preserving a piece of history, which
Yeah, a piece of
um,
art. I mean, you can argue it's art, but it is some, something that
absolutely
people, a
love
studio
it,
created.
hate it, or feel indifferent about it. It's a piece of art that somebody made, and it deserves to be preserved. And that made me think of another recent story from September where the old. Do you remember when everybody had iPods? There was a brief moment in time. It was around the iPod fifth gen, like when iPod Video came out. They got to a point where they were making little games for the iPod, the click wheel iPod. Most simplistic controls ever because you're playing it on an iPod. But they had for a while they were making these games. Various developers would get in and they would make games. And this was pre-iPhone, pre-App Store, so it was
Touchscreen.
you plug your iPhone into your computer, open iTunes, sync the game over through that whole rigmarole. But I remember playing a few. I played through. There was a Lost game, the TV show Lost. There was a game they
Yeah,
made based on that, and I played through that on my iPod click
like
wheel.
iPod. Wow, is this
Um,
the Nano, right, or is this the just the big
it was the big one,
big
the
one?
fifth gen. Remember when the iPod first came? The iPod was first able to play video. It was the fifth gen. The first time it had
Mm.
like a color screen, I think, or maybe not. No,
Um,
because there was the iPod Photo that had the color screen, and then later was the.
I totally forgot about
I
these
worked at an
generations,
Apple
but
store while all this was happening, so I have
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
vivid
no, it's
memories. But yeah, so it's another situation where these games are kind of lost to time because of
so
it's
true.
this
Yeah,
this obsolete hardware that isn't being made anymore. People aren't making games for this hardware anymore. There's nowhere to buy these games anymore. So another preservation project has been out there trying to track down all of the iPod clickwheel games, and they have done it. There was a story that came out. I seem to have lost it. I had a window open, but there's a story that came out a few weeks ago about how they tracked down all of the games for the iPod click wheel.
all of
Um,
them. Wow.
yeah, so now you can, again, if you know where to go to find such things, you can obtain these games and I guess like sideload them onto your old ass iPod if you still have it laying around, or you can
I wonder if
find one
there's
online or something like that.
emulators or virtual machines.
Or yeah, I
I
wonder if
mean,
there are like there's got to be like an iPod
there's got to be
click wheel
some sort of
emulator
emulation.
out. Yeah, I'm sure. Anyway, the games are preserved; they're out there, and it's there's a certain relief that comes with that, even as someone who is not super invested in this or wasn't involved with the preservation of these games. It even makes me feel a little bit relieved knowing that like, oh, that's good. That's a good, happy, warm, fuzzy feeling that like
Yeah.
that collection is complete and that like this complete catalog of experiences that people built for this piece of hardware and this moment of time is now perfectly preserved. So it's great, and it raises questions about game preservation in general, which we could talk a whole lot more about and get into the things that teams like Digital Eclipse are doing with their games that they're releasing. Do you know about these? The
No, tell me more about what they're doing, or what is
so
this? Who is
so
this?
Digital Eclipse, they're a Bay Area based team, and they I believe they're Bay Area based, but they have been releasing collections like Tetris Forever was a recent one where it's
Mm.
a collection of various builds of Tetris, various games of Tetris, lots of interviews with Alexei Pajitnov, Hank Rogers, Maya Rogers, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Basically just like a full it's a playable documentary basically, and they did one for
Mm.
Atari, they did one for Tetris, they did, oh man, they did a bunch of them. They got one coming out. The one they're promoting now is a Mortal Kombat. They're doing like a full like documentary of the entire history of Mortal Kombat with a bunch of
Cool.
playable let's see, Mortal Kombat. But yeah, they've done a bunch of these. Digital Eclipse. Let me look up Digital Eclipse, and so I make sure I'm not forgetting anything obvious they did. Oh yeah, they put out the recent Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, like side-scrolling beat 'em up game. Um,
Okay, so they're coming. They put out kind of retro, like kind of they
Lots of
these
retro
retro games are.
stuff, lots of playable documentaries. They're doing a lot of good stuff. And not like one-to-one direct game preservation in the way that we were just describing, like literally just dumping a ROM and, you know, putting it out there, but creating these tribute collections that
Okay.
I think plus up and make people actually, because it's one thing to preserve a game, but it's another thing to make people care about a game. And I think that
Yeah. Just gonna
that's
say, like,
something that these collections do really well, is they make people care. Yeah, Tetris Forever is the recent one, came out just a few months ago. Super recommend it, especially as a hardcore Tetris fan, like lifelong Tetris fan. They just do such an amazing job celebrating these games and these pieces of history. So yeah, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is the one they're working on now. They did one for Worms Armageddon. They did a Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition, apparently.
well, these are
Oh, I
kind of
guess that
really
was just
nostalgic
re-releasing
games.
it on a modern console. So that wasn't the whole like documentary thing. But that
Mm.
was the one I was forgetting, was Lamasoft, the Jeff Minter story. You know, Jeff Minter, he made like Space Giraffe and like Tempest, and I don't know why Space Giraffe is the first one I mentioned.
But yeah, Tempest I would recognize more than Space Giraffe, but it's fine.
So yeah, he made. I'm not going to get in all that. Oh yeah, the making of Karateka was one that put them on the map a while ago. That was a big one. Atari 50, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, which collected a bunch of the arcade games and like Game Boy games and the NES games. Disney Classic Games collection. Anyway, yeah, look up Digital Eclipse. They are doing amazing things. Really appreciate and respect the work they're doing.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's really cool to hear. Like, kind of you describe that, and the notion of them kind of like, you know, wrapping these games with context and kind of like it's almost like a playable documentary, which I think that's a good way of putting it. Because I'll be honest, yeah, you know, I really like the Ratchet and Clank story and the iPod Click story of like, oh, it's really satisfying to know that these like once lost pieces of, you know, artwork and games are now like kind of preserved, and they're able to be like, you know, to be experienced. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm probably not gonna spend time to play these things unless I hear that they are amazing, or that, oh, it's like such a cool, like, you know, innovative experience. So I think giving that context too is really helpful to get like kind of find these,
Yeah, I really
help these games
recommend
find audiences.
just Google Digital Eclipse, and if you see any of their projects that is linked to an IP you care about, whether it's Tetris or Mortal Kombat or, you know, Jeff Minter or Karateka, then
Yeah.
or, you know, the history of Atari, you know, they've got a lot of stuff out there, and they're continuing to do more and more. So I'm excited to see them continuing to grow and do exciting things, and
Yeah,
keep
it'd be really
doing
it's
this
really cool for
important work.
fans too. I think if you're really a fan of like the whatever it is, like that get like kind of like these lost treasures, and
Yeah.
that's like a really good way to kind of go even deeper into like the lore of your favorite franchise or fans or game or whatever. I This made me think of like, I think I've been talking to you a couple years about the near mobile game that was a live
Yeah.
service game, the
Yeah.
near
Near,
wait, not
was it Resurrection or Res?
near resurrection, I think. Yeah, I mean, I haven't forgot the name of it already, but it was but it was a live service game that was near reincarnation. It
That's
was
what it
close
was.
to
That's what it was.
resurrection.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was 2021 or so, like kind of like post pandemic, around the pandemic era, right afterwards. But it was a live service game. It was a gotcha game, which, you know, isn't our favorite type of game, but had an amazing story mode. And I think every few months they would release different, you know, like a different story beat. And that's what I would play, because I tried not to get into the gotcha. I actually don't think I even paid for anything in the game,
Nice.
but it told a really good story. It was really interesting characters. They really made you feel stuff. I think it was like, you know, it was supervised by Yoko Taro. So at least is that. And then by the end of it, so I think the game end of service last year or so. But by the end, it turned into a full-fledged Near Automata sequel, which is so effing cool. Like it's one of you and I's favorite games.
Yeah.
Automata. It's like, you know, the
That was a really
storytelling is
special
amazing.
game. Yeah.
And the fact that they like actually like tied it back to and it's literally a sequel. Like, you find out what happens after Automata, which is actually, did not expect that, but it's a great payoff for, you know, the fans who played the game. But I got sad afterwards, because like, I don't think you got to experience this. A lot of people didn't get to experience this game because it was told over a gotcha platform over like 4 years. And so something like this would be perfect to be preserved.
Yeah,
and
you were encouraging me near the end of it. You were like, dude, you got to get in there. This story is crazy. And I was like, man, am I really gonna go re-download this gotcha game that I wrote off forever ago? Like, I moved on from this, man. I don't know if I want to dive back in just to see the story for this thing that's ending. But
Yeah, I mean,
there's a small part of me that wishes I would have gone in and done that just for, like you said, the historical aspect, the
yeah.
scholarly aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean the game was pretty. I mean it's fine. It was actually the game itself was pretty fun as in terms of just an RPG and whatever, and but it's just really the story. And so I think, hopefully, I think I remember seeing there's I was on their Discord and the Reddit for the game, and I think people were trying to like find out ways to preserve it. So I think there's either someone did this on YouTube, and like I even screen cap like the last chapter just because I have it on my. I think I may have some videos of like the last gameplay just to like
Yeah, I'm sure it's out there
preserve
on
that
YouTube and
feeling because
stuff.
that's
Yeah.
like so something like this is like I think really a good candidate for game preservation, a good argument for it because like what happens to all these games when they're especially like nowadays in the era of live service where like these games are in the moment, they're like told over whatever seasons and like it's temporary, it's like FOMO, like you don't play, you don't get it. But there's so many games now that are going to end of service because live service games are not winning bet usually. There's very few chances of the games that have the chances to like survive in this environment. And once their time is up, it's like what happens to these games? And I think that's something that definitely worth exploring further. And maybe we can find other topics from this. But like,
what about a game like Concord, where people worked on this game for years, and there was a huge marketing push behind it, and it came out, and then a week later, what is it? It was like a week later, right? They shut it down,
yeah, like a week,
refunded
yeah.
everybody, and said, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to release this game after all. That's crazy. That is so much work. That is a whole universe that was built. And again, love it, hate it, feel indifferent about it. It's a lot of art that people created that is just never going to be experienced by so many people. And that's a damn shame.
Yeah, I mean, I'll defend. I mean, I thought it was pretty fun. I mean, may not be the most unique gameplay. It may not be the most interesting thing, but it was pretty fun to play.
Yeah.
I did play it. It got kind of yeah. I mean, that game got in multiple
Yeah,
bad luck
that was a
stuff.
kind of a maelstrom of bad things happening on
Yeah,
that. But
yeah, to your point, it's just like yeah, like anything that's live service is just like kind of
it's not just
there in the
live
moment, but
services either. Then you've got stuff like The Crew a while back. You remember this, where Ubisoft revoked the ability to play the game, like to people who had bought it. They shut the game down, shut down the servers, and like you literally just cannot play the game anymore. And I think it was
yeah,
something where they actually like removed the game from people's libraries, if I remember right.
woof.
Is that
That sounds right from what I've heard from Ubisoft's statement about
I seem
digital
to
content in
remember
the
that
past.
being what it is, but I don't want to don't take my word at full truth on that. But I think it was something along those lines. And there was a huge conversation about like, wait, so what are we paying for when we buy a game? Obviously, we've known for a while that we're not buying the game. We're buying a license to play the game. But that conversation took it a step further where it's like, okay, well, hold on. Like, we can actually lose access to these games that we paid for. Like, this is a thing that can really actually, I paid like $50 for this back then, or 60 or 70,
Yeah.
because, they love to sell your $100 Ultimate Editions too. What if you paid $100 for the Ultimate Edition of The Crew? Now here we are, what, less than a decade later, you can't even play it anymore.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. So, and then
yeah.
there are other games where I think there was like a Crazy Taxi re-release where it didn't have the original soundtrack. So, and obviously the soundtrack was a huge part of what made people love Crazy Taxi back in the day. So if you play the newer version, you're not playing the original, artist intent version of Crazy Taxi. That version of the game is not preserved unless, you find other methods to play that original version of the game. Or if you have the original version of the game, you can still hook your Dreamcast up and play it. There are so many different aspects and so many nuances to this conversation that I feel like we could do a whole series of episodes on it. But at a broad level, I do hope that the conversation becomes more prevalent and becomes more mainstream, and people start to realize more that we can and we are losing access to some of these pieces of history, some of these pieces of art that people created, some of these games that you may have even loved. Some game that you love right now, what happens 20 years from now if you're not able to play it anymore? What if you have kids or grandkids, you want to show them this thing that you used to love and it's just not there anymore? So game preservation, very important topic. I wanted to make sure we spend a little bit of time talking about it and celebrating the people who are doing their damnedest to make sure it happens. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on the subject, we'd love to hear your take too. If you write into us at whatever our email address is, Andy, you did such an amazing job getting so much stuff set up. As we start to kind of transition into our outro, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the different channels that you've set up for us here for Shared Bytes?
Yeah, I think we're at Shared Bytes. We're on Insta right now. That's kind of it. I think I haven't like set up the TikTok
Well, you can follow
or
it. You can
feeds.
subscribe to our show in various places, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you can find your favorite artist feed on Spotify or Apple Music, or I use Overcast personally. I think you do
Me too.
too.
Yep.
Yeah. So look for us on those
And then
platforms.
Instagram, I think you secured a URL, but we haven't quite built a website yet. We're getting there with all this stuff. Andy, you're doing amazing work. Thank
Yeah,
you
if you go to
for.
sharedbytes.net, I think you'll see what we're linked at. So just go there. That's kind of like the hub right now. We've got a little link tree up with kind of the places we're at. You can find us right now.
Yeah.
So please go out, tell your friends.
And figure out how to contact us. I don't think we've set up an email address yet, but maybe DM us on Instagram if you have anything you'd like to talk about for now. And then we'll get an email address set up for user submissions for future episodes. But yeah, if you have anything you'd like to comment on, figure out a way to reach out to us via DM or just text us if you know us personally, and we'll talk about it on the next episode.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. This was a fun episode too. I really enjoyed talking about the games we're playing, game preservation, film festivals. I am curious about going to a film festival now, so keep me updated when there's another one coming up. Maybe you can drag me out to one.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely gonna keep you up to speed on that, and that sounds good. Um, yeah,
Cool.
I mean,
Any final thoughts before we let people get back to their day or move on to the next episode of whatever podcast is going to autoplay after this one?
I mean, I'd love to talk more about game preservation. I think that's kind of a topic we can definitely revisit in the future. I think there's a lot of nuances there. I mean, with different, just even in terms of how the business is run now. I mean, I think that's the situation where you're running up between like the whole like profitability of something endeavors of that, and also kind of like the obviously the art, the museum like kind of experience that I think would be that needed. So I think that's kind of like the ultimate kind of, or that's kind of like the baseline kind of struggle. I think that some the efforts like that will have is just there's not going to be a lot of money in it, and there's not maybe not going to be a lot of listeners, or not listeners, a lot of them just like audience or like profitability from it. But I do think it's important. I think
Yeah, it's a question of what's the ROI on keeping these servers up, or whatever. But I think a big part of it is building these games with some level of foresight in mind, where you can predict that, okay, well, this game relies on servers to run. Someday we're going to shut these servers down, so let's build in some sort of offline mode so that when that inevitably happens, or when they're taking the servers offline, patch it to create an offline mode so that people who own it can still just do whatever they want with it, even if they can't log into the server. Make it usable, make it a product that they can use, that they can experience, that they paid for this thing. I don't know. It feels. I was talking about disrespecting time earlier. It feels just straight up disrespectful to make something, to build a product that is going to go obsolete someday, and you don't even make an effort to make it usable for the person.
Yeah, I mean that's just. I mean, I just having you probably know this too, just firsthand experience. That's not something that's very low on the priorities list as for the studios or for the the products for when you're
But it
making
shouldn't be.
these games. They shouldn't be, but the reality is that is. So I think that's like the tough part. But I think really, I mean, it's going to take effort from a lot of different stakeholders, to say, for lack of a better word. But or even there's like grants. I mean, we're probably at a hard point in our society right now for federal grants for arts, but the arts right now. But something like akin to what museums get, or maybe it might take a large private investment or donation or foundation or whatnot to make this happen. But I think it is I think it's important. I think it's something in the moment that we kind of don't think about, because like, oh, we have access to all this stuff. It's so easy, everything's digital right now. Get instant access to their fingertips. But what happens when that switch is shut off, or that's it's no longer profitable to even host the games or the data on a server? That's kind of a sad thing to think about, that it's not worth it to keep something digital like on like a disk somewhere, or even. But it's happening. It's going to happen more and more as we get in the next few years. So I think it's something to think about. Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about this more. Hopefully we can get someone on to join us, maybe to talk about this.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Go through our Rolodexes and see kind of who would be some fun people to discuss this with. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, I think unless you got anything else you want to leave our pals with, I think that'll do it for Shared Bytes episode 2.
No, that's it. Hope you guys have a good weekend.
Good weekend, good week, good couple weeks until we talk to you next. So we'll probably be back around the end of the month to talk Halloween with y'all. Make sure you share what you're dressing up with or dressing up as so that we can talk about it on the next episode. And we'll have our costumes lined up by then too. Maybe I'll wear mine during the recording.
Ooh,
I don't even know what mine is yet. I know what my son's costume is, but I haven't figured out what mine is yet.
Ooh, I can't wait. All right, so we'll find out next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
stay tuned for Shared Bites, episode 3. Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe, tell your friends, write in with your thoughts on game preservation and Halloween, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.